Hey guys, welcome to the Human Reset. Let's talk today about a concept that you can see pretty much everywhere in everyone's life. You can see it in your life, in your friend's life, in your family, colleagues' life, pretty much all around you. And I'm also pretty sure that a lot of our conversation revolve around this topic. So what's the mystery item here? It's very, very simple. It's the reason why people feel frustrated and unhappy in their life. And you know, there's some very, very serious reason for us to feel that way. And I'm not trying in any way to diminish those, because those are really, really serious condition, either personal or social, etc., that can make our lives really, really difficult. But I would like to touch a bit on all the other stuff, the stuff that we only perceive as being bad, on the so-called bad voices that we like to listen to, whether it's ourselves or it's somebody else. But for now, let's look at a few reasons why, in fact, serious conditions or serious elements can turn our life in a not so pleasant experience. So for example, if you have an ongoing disease, if you have an unstable financial status, or an unstable social status, especially for that particular part of the population that needs social support, those are very, very serious conditions, and by no means should they be taken lightly. And by all means, everybody who's in that position should be doing their best and should be receiving as much help as possible to be escaping that. And maybe, why not, that's a subject for another talk, for another video. For today, I would just like to focus a little bit on some of the stuff that we can better control. Because when you think about it, for the most part, yes, you can influence your lifestyle, but if you're born in a really, really poor society, or if you're unfortunate to have the social status that comes with that, if unfortunately you have an underlying health condition, those are factors that, for the most part, are outside of your control. We can influence our own health, and that's a separate topic, but you can find yourself in a very bad situation in that influence. But what I'm talking about is a different set of things, a different set of situations. So here it is. It's very common for people to be worried and frustrated and experience anxiety or depression for one of the following. We want more money. We want better looks. We want to be sexier. We want more validation from other people. We want to be admired. We want to be included in groups, etc., And it just doesn't happen at a certain time in our life, or for some of us, very rarely happens. So basically anything having to do with lifestyle choices, everything having to do with a superior income, more money, everything having to do with whatever stories we tell ourselves or what other people tell ourselves about how our life should be like, that is a very, very powerful trigger for unhappiness, for anxiety, for stress and depression. So what I'm thinking, and what I would like for all of us to consider today, is very, very simple. We do have the choice in that respect, provided that we have healthy lifestyle on all counts. Our health is good enough. Our income is decent enough. We can afford basic stuff like shelter, food, decent clothing, maybe a vacation now and then. We have good enough relationships. We're still close to our family. We have an ongoing relationship with a romantic partner. We have a few good friends. Now, if all those conditions are met, I believe that is completely within our control to change how we perceive life. Because it's very, very tempting to go into a rumination period where you see a lot of bad stuff happening around, right? You don't get a promotion you so desperately wanted, right? Your boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't feel exactly the same way about you, right? They don't want to take the relationship to the next level. You just maybe had a big fight with one of your friends and that relationship has been dissolved. The relationship with the family is not going as great. You know, people don't compliment you on your looks all the time. So for all that stuff, I'm not saying it's not serious stuff. It's definitely serious stuff. But what I'm saying is we can better prepare ourselves and we can better train ourselves to look at things differently from now on. So I guess at the end of the day, the question is, what exactly can we do to make that happen, to improve our quality of life by the way we interpret how things are presented to us? Now, I think the reason that that happens is quite a simple one. It's not an easy one to overcome, but it's quite simple. Basically, it's comparison. We compare ourselves to others, and usually we're very subjective to what's called a survivorship bias. We look at people that seem to be like us, that have made it so much better in a certain area of their life. They have a better relationship, they have more money, etc., etc. And we overlook the fact that for the most majority, we're doing just fine. In other words, statistically, if we look at our age demographic, in the country we live in, the period we live in, we're doing just fine. But since our brain is prone to favor, anxiety and negative stuff, we're gonna be paying more attention to the one person, in 1,000 or one person in 10,000 who made it better than us, and that can cause frustration. So comparison is one, and the other one, and just as dangerous, is the voice in our head, which is basically pre-programmed, and that's a voice that we, have internalized, and that pops up every now and again and saying you're not good enough, people don't want you bad enough. You're supposed to be further in life than when you are, and other stuff like that. So both of these triggers, comparison to others and this voice, which can be again our voice, internal voice, so it can be voices from others around us, are very, very powerful negative triggers, and we need to be very careful how we handle them. So what's the solution? Not a very difficult one. It's just, I would say, more difficult to implement because it takes a bit of patience and it takes a bit of time. But if I were to sum it in one word, it's a very simple one, and it's called separation. So what we do is we try to be more aware when this trigger is presented to us. So when that voice pops up in our head, saying you're not good enough, you're not sexy enough, you don't make enough money, you're supposed to be further in life than when you are, we just need to take a deep breath. And for the first part of our training, let's call it a training, what we do is we separate ourselves from that voice. So we do not make the mistake, and this is the big advice here, guys. We do not make the mistake of believing that voice is our identity. Because it is not. It's just a voice. If you want, you can call it a visitor. You can refer to it as an unwanted guest, right? And you treat it as such. You're aware it's going to be with you in your house, which is your mind and your soul, for a while, but it is not you. It's not going to be easy at first. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Nothing is going to happen for the first week, or probably not even the first month, but if we try to catch ourselves in the middle of the rumination of the negative pattern of thinking, it's going to become easier and easier and easier. And at some point, you're just gonna, you're gonna be in your car, you're gonna be driving, or you're gonna be sitting on your couch, and this voice will come up and saying, you're a loser, you're never gonna amount to anything, you should be doing better things, bigger things. And at that moment, after some time, you're going to be able to smile and just look and say, it's that visitor again, right? And you treat it as such. You treat it as a foreign voice, something that's not internalized by you. So that's pretty much it. It's a very simple tool. It takes time to master. It always takes time. But once you do, life gets so much better. Again, this would be a bit of an effort. But let's look at the alternative. What would happen if we decide to listen to others, to listen to our negative voice and to make it part of our identity? What happens? Well, I believe there's a real danger here that our true self, the one I was mentioning earlier, would be forever altered, would be forever modified. Because once you internalize that voice, once you internalize comparison to others and you make them real, and you truly believe that because somebody has a more expensive car or a nicer girlfriend or boyfriend or, you know, a country house or whatever, and once you start believing that that's true, that can truly become part of our identity. So basically, where our focus goes, energy follows. The more we feed the narrative of the negative pattern of thinking, the stronger it will become. So the danger here, and it's a very real danger, is that will become part of identity, and from that point on, it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of. So my kind request would be, just try for the first part every now and again. It doesn't happen to happen every time, but if you can, every now and again, just train yourself to catch that voice and treat it as an unwanted guest. And from that point on, things will get a lot better. Thank you guys. I will see you next time.